What is up, guys? It's Coaster Thrills here, and today in this video I'll be going through my top 25 coasters that I have ridden. I have personally had the privilege to ride, as of now, 442 coasters, and I'll be ranking them from 25 to 1 out of my favorite. Now, just as a heads up, I will only be ranking the coasters that I have ridden as of February 2020. So don't expect me to rank coasters that I have not ridden. That's, in my opinion, kind of stupid. I don't really rank or criticize any coasters I have not ridden, so coasters from Japan or the bottom half of Europe or any other coasters will not be included on this list. And actually, I do like ranking my favorite coasters, wherever they may be, so you can expect to see lots of these videos in the future, and also maybe some park countdowns as well. And lastly, this is just my opinion. I love each and every one of these coasters on this list, and it's just my way of putting it, so I definitely do recommend you go out and make a list for yourself. But most importantly, before we start, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for more videos on coasters often. Also, if you want to see more, make sure to follow our social media pages for updates and much more. Now, that's out of the way, let's start at our number 25 spot. That is HANGTIME, located at Knott's Berry Farm. Now, you may realize this is a little high for a coaster like this, but it is just so fun from the start to the finish. That includes great hang time in the inversions, hence the name, but also it has some great airtime moments, such as the biggest one right after this bank turn, and let me tell you, it is just a great ride from start to finish. But it's not the only coaster you'll see from Knott's Berry Farm on this list. But next is arguably the best B&M Hyper out there. That is my favorite. It is a MAKO, located at SeaWorld Orlando, so that does mean you will not find any other hypers on this list. But anyways, MAKO, especially for being located at one of my home parks, I absolutely love it, especially for the floater airtime found on most hypers, but this definitely delivers the best, even having some projector. It's just so fun all around, and what makes it into my top 25. But as another B&M to make this list is my favorite invert at 23, that is AFTERBURN. So as a result of that, of course, you will not be seeing any other B&M inverts on this list. This is the definition of an old school B&M. As it roars, it's so intense, like the Batwing and End Helix are super crazy intense, but also the inversions are so good, and it just is overall a very powerful ride. And plus, for it being pretty old, it's also smooth as it packs a punch, especially if you ride it in the rain. That just makes it the experience that much better. Taking our number 22 spot, that is a lightning rod, and my gosh, you don't know how good this thing is until you ride it. It's filled with lots of turns that are intense, especially near the end, and mainly the airtime moments. It just amazes me on how still there are no more of these Hyper GTX models out there, because this coaster is so compact and would be a fantastic ride for any park. This coaster proves that you don't need to be a big ride to deliver a fantastic ride, and I mean it's glossy smooth. So definitely, I recommend you go check this thing out. Next was a new for 2018 coaster, that is Twisted Cyclone, located at Six Flags Over Georgia, and I love this ride. It's not the most craziest, but it ran a lot better than people expected when it opened, and plus, it's an RMC, you gotta love those things. That sideways airtime hill is crazy, as it throws you out of your seat sideways, and plus, the inversions on this thing are really good. Yeah, it is a short ride, but the inversions at airtime definitely make up for it. Time Traveler is taking the number 20 spot. This is a max spinning coaster located at Silver Dollar City, the first of their coasters on this list, and man, was this a surprise. This really is a solid ride throughout most of the ride, which would not normally make my top 25, but that key element that took me definitely by surprise is the first drop out of the station. If you sit in the back, it is absolutely insane. It's by far one of the greatest elements of all time. If you sit in the back, that's the key, but overall, it's still a great ride, putting it all the way up here at number 20. But at number 19 is Phantom's Revenge, and honestly, I always have a hard time ranking this thing because it really is so different from every ride on this list. That's mainly because this ride was converted from the Steel Phantom that had lots of inversions to this crazy ride, which, let me tell you, has some of the best ejector airtime out there. The lap bars barely touch you, so you fly out of your seat every airtime moment, and also what's really cool is that the second drop is bigger than the first one, leaving you with an awesome ride. Now, another coaster, Silver Dollar City, their best is Outlaw Run. As you can tell, I put both this and Time Traveler very very close, so I did have a difficult time choosing which one I like better, but obviously Outlaw Run came out on top. This ride is definitely really better than the POV makes it out to be. The airtime, like most of the coasters on this list, is insane. It was the first wooden coaster to go upside down 3 times, and it certainly lives up to that. Now, another RMC is at the number 17 spot. That is Wicked Cyclone. When I rode this during the 2018 season, I expected it to be a little better than it was, but it was still a very long ride packed with tons of inversions and airtime. Look at the inversions, such as the 2 0G rolls, but mainly this inversion where you like halfway through it, but then you whip back. It's just fun and has so many characteristics to it. That's why I like it, and that's why I put it at this spot. Next is a very controversial coaster. That is SKYRUSH. Now, with this, you either love it or you hate it, and of course, I love it. It is so intense with every element. It is a powerhouse. The airtime is incredibly strong, and the setting, man, the setting over the water just makes it that much better. Now we're getting into the really good ones. To start out, the top 15 is GHOSTRIDER. Every time I go to Knott's Berry Farm, I get so excited to ride this thing, mainly on how just incredible this thing is. You can look on how many good things are about this coaster, and you can't choose which is the best, but the laterals are crazy, probably some of, if not the best laterals in the world. It has some crazy airtime, especially after that turnaround, and it's just so intense as you haul through every single element. It is my favorite coaster at Knott's Berry Farm, and it sure deserves to be. But my favorite GCI is Mystic Timbers, taking our number 14 spot. It's the only coaster from Kings Island on this list, which could be controversial, but this ride just blows you out of the water every single ride. When this thing opened, I think it was way better than we expected it to be. It's relentless, non-stop action from start to finish, and surprisingly, is very smooth, probably the smoothest wooden coaster in the world. It's just so glossy smooth, and that combined with the incredible airtime and relentlessness just makes it my favorite GCI, but that's just my opinion. The first ever single rail coaster is at the number 13 spot, and this thing is just insane, especially for the space it takes up. It's just so intense, and the speed of these things are absolutely crazy. It has some absolutely incredible speed throughout the ride, with also some insane ejector airtime and those such rapid transitions. Even though Wonder Woman was the first Raptor, I think that RAILBLAZER is better, and that is the next coaster on this list. And it is the exact clone of Wonder Woman, having all the incredible things that I just mentioned. But the reason I put RAILBLAZER 1 spot higher is because I do like the rock work in the color scheme, but obviously is minor details, but both the coasters deliver the exact same layout and are both just insane rides. Getting to the RMCs again, at the number 11 spot is Storm Chaser, and this thing might be like the most out of control coaster ever. You're going to get thrown out of your seat like a rag doll. It is crazy. You also get elements such as the barrel roll drop, trick track double up that are just so fun, but the elements that make this ride are the insane airtime moments, such as the first big airtime hill. Now, as we start the top 10, we kick it off with a fan favorite among us coaster enthusiasts. That is Maverick at Cedar Point. Just to start out, this coaster at night is absolutely incredible. It has 2 great launches, especially that second one catches you so much off guard. But man, that drop is the highlight of the ride. It is beyond 90 degrees, and it's just pure greatness. But you then also have the inversions and incredible rapid transitions that really just made me appreciate this coaster this past summer, as it should be, because it is incredible. My favorite gravity group is Voyage, this incredible wooden coaster located at Holiday World, and what an incredible legendary ride this is. You could even call it a voyage. It is so long, filled with some fantastic airtime moments, such as that incredible triple down in the dark, but there's not just airtime, as there's also some great laterals, and like I said, it really is long, and I mean a really long ride. Even though, in my opinion, people have this coaster up a little too much, I think it is a fantastic ride. It definitely deserves to be at this spot on my list. Once again, is another RMC. That is Twisted Colossus, and this ride is just purely incredible, and it is even better dueling, though it does not duel all the time. It is still an unbelievable coaster, even if you don't duel. It's really long, going through the 2 sides. The inversions are fantastic, and the airtime is also also incredible. My actual favorite airtime moment on both sides is that massive hill right after the little bunny hop that sends you flying into Goliath's massive turn. It is so memorable, so this is this whole ride. Then at number 7 is, in most people's opinion, the most intense coaster in the world. That is Intimidator 305. And what an unbelievable coaster that for most people could be too intense. It is so incredible from when you leave that station because of the cable lift hill to the brake run, and other than the whippy intense turns, it has something people don't really talk about, the excellent airtime. Even though the restraints may not be the best, it still is of course a remarkable coaster, so is Fury 325, another Giga taking my number 6 spot. This coaster I have absolutely loved ever since it opened because it has everything, and I mean everything you'd want on a coaster. That includes height, speed, airtime, intensity, duration, smoothness, and even some laterals. It is absolutely butter smooth and is one of the most fun coasters in the world, even though it may not be the most extreme coaster out there. It is the king of Carowinds, and for a reason. It's just such a memorable ride, even if people call it overrated. And then is the most underrated coaster ever, and no joke, this coaster is not one of the worst RMCs, it is one of the best, and you may not like my opinion here, but number 5 is Iron Rattler, Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This coaster, oh my gosh, is absolutely insane. It can be sluggish at the top of the quarry wall, but still, in those moments, it is really fun. But the highlight elements include the drop, which is probably the best RMC drop, especially in the back. That's by far the best row. And my second favorite element on this coaster is that dive off the quarry wall that, once again, is fantastic. It may be short, but it packs a punch, and you need to know how good this ride is if you ride it. Next is the number 4 spot, and what great coaster is taking the spot? That is El Toro, an Intamin prefabricated wooden coaster, and I wish there was more of these coasters like this in America. This ride has once again some of the strongest airtime ever on those 2 back-to-back massive airtime hills. It's like this coaster is split into 2 parts. The first section is all airtime and it's incredible, but right after the Rolling Thunder Hill, which is incredible by the way, the rest of the ride is low to the ground, and it's just unbelievably intense. During those turns, for some reason, my back hurt, it was so intense. This coaster, I am so excited to ride again this summer. It is worth the trip alone to Great Adventure to ride this masterpiece. Now, here are the RMCs. Starting out, the top 3 is Twisted Timbers, and holy crap, this thing is in airtime. The whole ride is airtime, and no pop-up ejector lets up. The best moment are those 3 back-to-back ejector hills, and there are no words available to explain those moments. It is great all around with that barrel roll drop just to solidify this coaster as the best in the park and my number 3 favorite coaster. Now, another RMC is one of my favorites, and that is Lightning Ride. And yes, as you probably guessed, my top 3 coasters are RMCs, but anyways, since this coaster opened in 2016, it has been either the second best or the best coaster in the world, and for a reason. The elements are just so insanely incredible, like that wave turn is fantastic with that sideways airtime. There's the launch lift hill, that's probably the best moment on this coaster, this outer banked hill right before the quad down, and of course the quad down. The ejector airtime on this coaster has no words to explain how good it is, and no element on this coaster that is not incredible from start to finish. There's no stopping in pace or anything. And finally, at the number 1 spot is, you guessed it, Steel Vengeance at the only America's rock and roller coaster, Cedar Point. Every ride when you get off this coaster, you are absolutely speechless. You have no words to describe how incredible this coaster is. Ever since it opened in 2018, it has been the best coaster in the world. Some people may call it overrated, but in my opinion, it is not. It is one heck of a best coaster in the world, and it will be for a long time to come. So that wraps up my top 25 coasters. I definitely encourage you to make your own list because mine is not the only opinion out there. So what do you think of this list? Make sure to post that in the comments below. And of course, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this often. And see ya!